Some motorcycles look perfect when they are sitting under dealership lights. The paint is clean, the badge has history, the engine sounds right, and the salesman makes the payment feel smaller than it really is. But 1 year later, the truth can look very different. The seat starts hurting. The suspension feels cheap. The fuel range gets annoying. The trade-in offer feels insulting. And that dream bike turns into something you keep defending instead of enjoying. So today, we are looking at 7 motorcycles owners often regret buying after just 1 year, not because everyone is junk, but because real miles expose what the showroom hides. Watch until the end, because number 1 will shock you. Number 7. Kawasaki Eliminator. A bargain cruiser can look honest under bright showroom lights, especially when the payment feels harmless and the seat sits low enough to flatter almost anybody. That is the Eliminator's strongest trick. It gives newer riders a clean path into cruiser styling without the weight, heat, or intimidation of a full-size machine. The stance is tidy. The bars feel natural. The engine has enough snap around town to make a parking lot test ride feel convincing. For someone coming back to riding after years away, it can seem like the sensible choice. After a year, that sensible feeling can wear thin. The Eliminator is easy to ride, yet it does not always feel like a motorcycle a grown man wants to keep. On 2-lane roads, it behaves well. On longer highway runs, the light build starts feeling less like agility and more like a reminder that this was built to a price. Wind pressure, limited comfort, and modest road presence can make the rider feel like he bought a stepping stone instead of a keeper. That matters because pride is part of ownership. A cruiser should make you want to open the garage door just to look at it. With the Eliminator, some owners discover they respect it more than they love it. It does the job, but it rarely delivers that heavy, settled feeling older riders associate with real road machines. The bike feels polite, not permanent. Comfort is where the regret becomes physical. The low seat helps at a stop, but the padding is not built for long afternoons. Rough pavement reaches the rider quickly. The rear suspension can feel busy when the road gets broken. A short coffee ride may still be enjoyable, yet longer miles expose the limits. Once a motorcycle starts shortening your plans, the ownership clock begins ticking. The money side can sting harder than the ride. Entry-level cruisers often lose their charm quickly on the used market. Buyers looking secondhand may compare the Eliminator against bigger used cruisers with more torque, more metal, and stronger long-distance comfort. That leaves first-year owners facing trade-in offers that feel colder than expected. The original low price helps, but it does not erase the feeling of buying twice. The better way to read this machine is simple. It is a capable starter cruiser, not a forever cruiser. Riders who understand that may leave satisfied. Riders who want heritage weight, highway confidence, and garage pride may feel trapped by their own compromise. That is the regret. Not disaster, not failure. Just the quiet realization that cheap freedom still has a very low ceiling. The bargain Kawasaki makes, about 45 horsepower, uses a 451 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled parallel twin engine, delivers about 31.7 pound-feet of torque, carries front and rear disc brakes with available anti-lock braking system, uses a telescopic front fork and twin rear shocks, weighs about 388 pounds curb weight, has a 28.9-inch seat height, and starts around $6,700. A machine can be easy to ride and still easy to outgrow, which makes the heavier regret ahead feel far more expensive. Number 6. Triumph Rocket. 3. Storm R. Some motorcycles do not whisper temptation. They roll into view like a dare, all muscle, metal, and torque. That is the Storm R's whole appeal. It feels like the last machine in the room that still believes excess has value. For a rider tired of small engines, plastic panels, and polite performance, the first impression can be intoxicating. You sit on it and feel the weight of something serious. You hear the engine settle beneath you and understand why riders talk about it like a legend. Regret starts when that legend becomes ordinary life. Raw size feels heroic on open road, yet less romantic when backing out of a driveway or easing through a crowded gas station. Heavy machines can be rewarding, but they demand respect every time. After 12 months, some owners realize the bike never lets them relax. That is not small. A cruiser should lower your pulse. It should make the ride feel wide, steady, and earned. The Storm R often does the opposite at low speed. It keeps your attention locked. One careless boot placement or loose gravel can turn pride into strain. Nobody wants a premium motorcycle that makes simple stops feel like work. Power also changes its meaning. At first, the pull feels outrageous. The throttle delivers that deep shove old-school riders respect. Yet most roads do not let a man use all of it for long. After the thrill fades, the owner still has heat, tires, insurance, service cost, and the awareness of how much machine is under him. Comfort is more complicated than the spec sheet suggests. The seat height is manageable, and the riding position has authority. Still, a wide tank, broad stance, and firm sporting attitude can wear on a rider who wants effortless miles. It may dominate a Saturday blast, but it does not always invite a relaxed cross-state run. That gap between excitement and usefulness is where regret grows. There is also the garage reality. Big rear tires are expensive. Specialized service is not always nearby. Parts and labor rarely feel cheap on a motorcycle built around extreme hardware. The used market respects the engine, but it also knows the buyer pool is narrow. Plenty of riders admire the beast. Fewer want to own the bills. That is the honest lesson. The Storm R is not weak, boring, or forgettable. It is almost too memorable. For the right rider, it is a trophy with handlebars. For the wrong rider, it becomes proof that bigger can still feel smaller once freedom turns into effort. Triumph's muscle cruiser makes 180 horsepower, uses a 2458 cubic centimeter inline 3-cylinder engine, delivers 166 pound-feet of torque, carries front and rear disc brakes with optimized cornering anti-lock braking system, uses inverted front forks and a rear monoshock, weighs about 699 pounds wet, has a 30.4-inch seat height, and starts near $24,995. Prestige gets heavier when the road stops feeling easy, and the sharper regret ahead proves speed alone cannot protect a famous name. If you have ever bought a motorcycle that looked perfect at the dealership and completely different after a year on the road, this is the kind of conversation riders need more of. Subscribe for honest motorcycle breakdowns, and share which bike taught you the hardest ownership lesson. Number 5. Harley-Davidson Sportster S. A famous badge can make a rider forgive almost anything, until the first long ride starts telling the truth. That is the pressure sitting on the Sportster S. It carries a name tied to garage builds, bar rides, old neighborhood streets, and stripped-down American attitude. For decades, that family meant something simple. A rider could buy in, wrench on it, make it his own, and feel connected to a line that never needed much explaining. This version walks into a different room. It is quicker, sharper, lower, and more technical than many old-school riders expect. The first test ride can feel impressive because the engine hits hard and the shape looks aggressive. Under dealership lights, it feels like the old name learned a new language. After a year, some owners start asking whether that language was meant for them. The regret is not only about speed. Speed is the easy part. The harder question is whether the bike gives anything back after the short blast ends. Around town, the riding position can feel tough and purposeful. On longer roads, the same position can start locking the body in place. Feet forward, bars low, suspension short, and wind in the chest can turn a proud ride into a stubborn one. That matters to riders who remember when a motorcycle had to serve more than a photo. A real machine should handle a back road, a diner stop, and a 100-mile afternoon without making the rider feel punished for wanting more. The Sportster S has power, yet power does not soften a sharp seat. It has presence, yet presence does not help when rough pavement reaches straight into the spine. There is also a heritage problem. Older Sportsters felt mechanical, approachable, and personal. This one feels more like a performance statement. Some riders respect that shift. Others feel like the familiar soul got traded for numbers and electronics. That is where pride turns complicated. Nobody wants to admit a legendary name no longer fits the kind of riding he actually does. Cost sharpens the disappointment. Once the buyer adds comfort parts, wind protection, luggage options, and small fixes, the price no longer feels like a clean entry into American muscle. Resale can sting, because used shoppers know the ride is polarizing. A machine that impresses on paper can still make buyers hesitate when they imagine owning it every weekend. The personal reading is blunt. This bike wins arguments in a brochure. Then ask the rider's hips, back, wrists, and wallet to accept the fine print later. Harley's sharper Sportster makes 121 horsepower, uses a 1252 cubic centimeter revolution, max 1250 T engine, delivers 93 pound-feet of torque, carries front and rear, disc brakes with anti-lock braking system and cornering rider safety enhancements, uses inverted front forks and a rear monoshock, weighs 502 pounds in running order, has a 28.9-inch laden seat height, with unladen seat height closer to 30.1 inches, and starts near $15,999. Familiar names can open the wallet fast, yet the motorcycle ahead proves racing attitude can create its own kind of buyer's remorse. Number 4. Indian FTR Sport. Flat track attitude has a powerful pull, especially when a rider wants something meaner than another polished cruiser. That is the FTR Sport's hook. It looks like a street brawler, with race blood still under the paint. The tank sits high, the tail is tight, and the riding position feels ready to attack the first back road you point it toward. For a man tired of soft showroom promises, that kind of stance can feel refreshing. The trouble starts after the first few weekends. A motorcycle built around attitude still has to handle ordinary life. Fuel stops, traffic, rough pavement, cold starts, and long stretches between towns all reveal whether the romance holds. With the FTR Sport, some owners discover the machine feels exciting, yet not always settled. Range is one of the first disappointments. The tank is small for riders who think in 100-mile days, not short city loops. That changes how you plan. Instead of riding until the road opens up, you start watching fuel like a man watching rain clouds. That is not freedom. That is management. The riding position adds another layer. Wide bars and a tall athletic stance make sense when the road gets twisty. On a casual afternoon, they can keep the body working harder than expected. A machine like this wants involvement all the time. Some riders love that. Others realize they wanted torque and character without feeling like every errand became a test session. Throttle response can also shape regret. A strong V-twin should feel connected and confident. When delivery feels abrupt, traffic becomes less relaxing. Slow corners demand more care. Wet roads feel less forgiving. The bike starts asking for focus when the rider came looking for release. There is also a cultural mismatch. The FTR Sport wears American muscle, but it does not fit the old cruiser box. It is not a bagger. It is not a relaxed boulevard machine. It is not built for passengers, luggage, or easy touring. That makes it interesting at purchase time, and harder to justify 1 year later. Resale reflects that narrow appeal. Plenty of riders admire it from across the lot. Fewer want to own the quirks, the limited range, the sharper posture, and the service cost. That leaves some first owners carrying the price of being different. That can bruise a proud owner, because difference feels noble only when the machine still serves the miles he actually rides every season. Indian's Flat Track Street Fighter makes 120 horsepower, uses a 1203 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V twin engine, delivers 87 pound-feet of torque, carries dual front disc brakes, and a rear disc brake with anti-lock braking system, uses inverted front forks, and a rear monoshock, weighs about 514 to 522 pounds, depending on model year, has a 31-inch seat height, and starts near $16,499. A sharper machine can stir the blood, yet the road ahead shows how a perfect stance can still punish the rider who wanted comfort. Number 3. Indian Scout Bobber. A chopped cruiser can make a man forget every practical question until the first rough road answers back. That is the Scout Bobber's strongest selling point. It looks stripped, dark, and tough. The kind of machine that seems ready for back road bars, breakfast rides, and slow rolls through town. The stance does most of the talking before the engine even fires. For riders who still respect simple shapes and honest torque, the first impression hits hard. Regret usually begins in the saddle, not the brochure. The Scout Bobber sits low, and that gives confidence at stops. The trouble is that the same low stance leaves little room for comfort. When the pavement turns ugly, a cruiser can be short and still feel composed. Here, the ride often feels like style won the argument before suspension had a chance to speak. The rear travel is limited, and older backs notice quickly. A sharp bump does not disappear under the bike. It comes straight through the seat and reminds the rider that cool can have a cost. Short rides may still feel satisfying. Longer miles expose the compromise. That is when a machine bought for pride starts changing the owner's plans. The seat adds to the problem. It looks clean, narrow, and purposeful, yet support matters more than appearance. After the first hour, many riders start thinking about replacement seats sooner than expected. Once that happens, the regret becomes financial. The bike was not cheap, and the first fix is rarely the last. Ergonomics can divide riders, especially taller men. Low bars and forward controls create a strong profile from across the lot. On the road, that same shape can fold the body into a position that feels better in pictures than in motion. A motorcycle should make a rider feel settled. If he keeps shifting around to find relief, the machine is already losing the argument. Range is another quiet frustration. The tank size and real-world fuel use can make longer rides feel interrupted. Nobody buys a cruiser to turn every afternoon into a fuel stop calculation. That matters to riders who remember when a good machine invited distance instead of limiting it. The deeper issue is identity. The Scout Bobber looks like a tough American-style street machine, and that image sells. Yet after 1 year, some owners realize they bought the silhouette more than the ownership experience. Upgraded shocks, better seats, bar changes, and small comfort fixes can help, but they also prove the original package was not built around the kind of miles many older riders actually care about. The stripped-down Scout makes about 105 horsepower, uses a 1,250 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin engine, delivers about 82 pound-feet of torque, carries front and rear disc brakes with available anti-lock braking system, uses telescopic front forks and dual rear shocks, weighs about 542 pounds in running order, has a 25.6-inch seat height, and starts near $13,499. A motorcycle can win the eye in seconds, while the machine ahead shows how touring pride can punish the wallet hard. Real motorcycles are more than horsepower and showroom shine. They are comfort, trust, and the miles you still want to ride years later. Subscribe if you want more straight-talking videos built for riders who care about what ownership actually feels like after the excitement fades. Number 2. Harley-Davidson Road Glide. A big touring machine can make a rider feel like he finally earned the highway, until the payment and weight start riding with him. That is the Road Glide's strongest emotional pull. It carries the look of a rival, the fixed fairing, wide stance, hard bags, and deep touring posture say one thing: this is not a starter bike. This is the machine a man buys after years of working, riding, waiting, and telling himself the next one will be the real one. That is why regret cuts deeper here. Nobody walks into this purchase expecting compromise. The Road Glide is supposed to feel settled, powerful, and ready for long days across state lines. When it does, it can still feel magnificent. The problem is what happens when ownership starts feeling heavier than the motorcycle itself. The first burden is cost. The starting price is already serious before taxes, setup, finance charges, accessories, luggage upgrades, taller windshields, better seats, audio wishes, and service. A rider may think he bought freedom. A year later, he may feel like he bought another responsibility. Weight is the second truth. On the interstate, heavy can feel planted and confident. In a sloped driveway, crowded fuel stop, or tight motel parking lot, heavy feels different. Older riders know how to handle big machines. That does not mean they want every casual ride to begin with a careful exit plan. Technology brings its own tension. The Road Glide has moved deeper into screens, ride systems, and modern controls. Some riders appreciate the convenience. Others miss the simpler touring feel, where the machine was less like a rolling device and more like a loyal iron companion. When menus and software become part of the ride, the old escape feels less pure. Depreciation can bruise pride, too. Touring models evolve quickly now. New paint, new screens, new trims, and new features can make last year's expensive purchase feel old before the tires are worn. At trade-in time, he may discover that loyalty does not protect value as much as he hoped. The hard truth is not that the Road Glide lacks purpose. It still covers miles, carries gear, and gives the rider unmistakable touring presence. The regret comes when the machine asks for too much money, too much strength, and patience for the kind of riding the owner does. A flagship should feel like reward, not pressure. When a motorcycle that once represented open-road pride starts feeling like a financial anchor, the shine fades fast. Harley's big fixed-fairing Tourer makes 105 horsepower, uses a 1923 cubic centimeter Milwaukee 8117 engine, delivers 130 pound-feet of torque, carries dual front and rear disc brakes with electronically linked braking and anti-lock braking system, uses 49mm dual bending valve, front suspension, and hand-adjustable rear emulsion shocks, weighs 838 pounds in running order, has a 26.6-inch laden seat height, and starts near $25,999. The final machine proves heritage can be more dangerous when nostalgia signs the deal before judgment speaks. Number 1. Indian Chief Darkhorse. Old American pride can make a rider sign faster than he thinks, especially when the machine looks like it was carved from memory. That is the Chief Darkhorse's dangerous pull. It does not chase flash. It sits low, blacked out, and serious, with the kind of shape that reminds older riders why big cruisers mattered in the first place. The first impression feels honest. No plastic fantasy, no nervous sport bike posture, just a heavy silhouette, deep torque, and enough attitude to make a man picture quiet roads before the paperwork is finished. Regret begins when emotion meets the first year of ownership. The Chief Darkhorse feels rich in character, yet character does not automatically mean comfort, value, or long-term satisfaction. A stripped cruiser always asks the owner to accept trade-offs. At purchase time, those trade-offs look like purity. After months of riding, they can start looking like missing equipment. Wind protection is the first obvious gap. The naked setup keeps the bike clean, but highway miles expose the rider fast. Add a windshield, better seat, bags, or different bars, and the original price no longer tells the full story. That is how a proud cruiser becomes a project before the owner planned one. The performance can also feel complicated. The torque is strong, and the engine has that slow, muscular pulse many riders respect. Still, the horsepower number is modest for the money. Riders who expect a hard, charging machine may discover that the Chief Darkhorse is more about mood than urgency. That is fine if you know it going in. It stings if you thought the price bought more authority everywhere. Comfort depends heavily on the rider. The low seat helps at stops, and the bike feels planted once moving. Longer days can reveal the firm side of the package. Rear suspension travel is limited, and rough pavement can remind you that style shaped the machine as much as touring function did. For riders over 50, that matters more than any brochure. Photo. The hardest regret is resale. Custom parts rarely return their full cost. A buyer may love the blacked-out look, yet still negotiate like every upgrade is someone else's taste. The owner pays to make it personal. The market pays to make it used. That is why this bike lands the hardest. It sells heritage, attitude, and identity, not just transportation. When those things fit, the ownership can feel meaningful. When they do not, the disappointment feels personal. It is not a cheap mistake. It is the kind of mistake a rider defends for a while, then quietly starts pricing online. The blacked-out Chief uses an 1890 cubic centimeter Thunderstroke 116 air-cooled V-twin engine, delivers 120 pound-feet of torque, carries front and rear disc brakes with anti-lock braking system, uses telescopic front forks and dual rear shocks, weighs about 647 pounds as shipped and about 670 pounds wet, has a 26-inch seat height, starts around $18,500. At the end of the day, the wrong motorcycle does not just cost money. It costs comfort, confidence, and the miles you actually wanted to ride. So before you defend a bike that stopped serving you, ask what ownership really feels like. Tell us which motorcycle you regret in the comments, like the video, and subscribe for more honest rider-first breakdowns.